Hi guys, it's me, the Gaming Geezer, and I'm here with my very first video. So, first of all, welcome to the channel. And on this channel, I'm going to be focusing primarily on Civilization content. Massively looking forward to Civilization 7 coming up soon, and getting involved with that. Now, with that said, my very first video is going to be about my favourite win condition in the game, the Domination victory. To preface that, I'm going to have to explain what I consider to be powerful aspects for a civilization to have in order for me to consider them a powerful Domination victory civilization. I'd say a high value flat combat strength bonus really helps to mitigate the high level AI advantages. If you're playing on deity or even immortal, having advantages to just pure combat strength is obviously going to be a massive boon in this victory type. Obviously other advantages like production, gold, movement speed, things that are going to help you snowball and make it likely you have a very good successful first war. That first war I tend to find is the most important. If I go and attack the civilization, suddenly there's walls up and I'm in this like elongated war. Maybe in the end I still take them down, but had I gone for a civilization that would have been quicker to take down, I start snowballing faster, and overall I'd be much more powerful. So that first war is crucial. So I like civilizations that can go into that first war with a greater advantage than others. So I do factor that in, that early game potential, quite highly. Right, on to our first civ on the list at number 10. We've got, let's have a look. We've got Abraham Lincoln. Okay, Abraham Lincoln was one of the leaders added later on in the game's development, and I find like a lot of the leaders released sort of towards the later end of its development cycle. It's quite powerful. He enjoys all the usual bonuses America has, which I admittedly find quite weak for the Domination win condition, apart from the Founding Fathers bonus. Having the flexibility with the additional wildcard slot is obviously immensely useful. He has a unique fighter jet and powerful tourism building unique to himself, which, while useful, don't really help him with the early game. And like I said, Domination I do think is more about the early game advantages. However, the thing I would say that has to put him in the number 10 slot is when he's producing industrial zones. Not only do they give him additional amenities to help bring down war weariness and keep your civilization happy and loyal, the most potent thing about it is it gains a completely free melee unit that requires no resources. So that's your musketman without niter and a flat combat strength, 5 flat combat strength on top of that. So his bonuses are coming a bit later. So I can't value him higher than number 10, but they are ridiculous when they do come. We have to consider, obviously, early bonuses are more powerful generally speaking, but he deserves his spot on the list at number 10. Okay, number 9. Now on to Tomyris of Scythia. So she has always been a good early power pick. Like when the game first came out, she was strong, and she is still strong now. She's on the list at number 9. Her bonuses are easy to use, they're clearly powerful, and she's a civilization I recommend to newer players. Whenever I'm playing with somebody new, I like to play Civilization with friends or whatever. We do a team game. I say try out Scythia if you want to try a Domination victory, because she's so easy and simple to use and fun. Very simple. She pumps out a horse and she gets another horse. She's like Tesco. She gets a buy one get one free on her units, on her light cavalry units, and it's just plainly powerful. Horseman units are very powerful early unit, and she has a unique unit to complement it that has ranged power. These are two very powerful things to have early in the game. and she gets a flat 5 combat strength. Remember what I said about flat power? Flat 5 combat strength versus all wounded units, and heals upon killing them. You know, so she's just very simple, straightforward, absolute monster. She gets a large army quickly. Her units stay healthier longer. She has a unique builder construction, which gives her an advantage to getting an early Pantheon, which I do value very, very highly, even for a Domination Civ. So why then, with all these early bonuses, am I only ranking her at number 9? Well, I'd have to say, over the years the game has been out, she's definitely been power creeped on her. Her bonuses are meaningful, but they're simple in comparison to the literal bibles of texts of some of the newer leaders and civs. So I would say she can be quite limited by a gold income as well, considering how expensive all these light cavalry units get so early into the game. Sometimes I tend to find her ability to produce units comes before she can really get a strong gold producing infrastructure going. You know, she can pillage and claim cities from other civilizations to help mitigate this, and she will do that. But that can be quite difficult sometimes versus the deity and immortal AIs that get walls up very quickly, and she can struggle versus that, you know. But with careful planning, she can snowball harder than, you know, maybe even some of the civs higher up on the list. But I think that she probably lacks the consistency that you would see from some of the civs higher up on the list overall. Okay, number 8 on the list, Macedon's Alexander the Great. Another big boy, you know. Mr. Alexander, he's been strong and amazing really since the release of the game, and he's still amazing. Another relatively simple civ, another good one for the beginners, and he just screams, all I want to do is war, and I want to do it all game long, and he completely negates war weariness. His units fully heal if he captures a city with a wonder. He's got not one but 2 unique units, both coming online pretty early with a horseman replacement and a swordsman replacement, and the ability to keep up in science simply by producing units and taking cities to get Eurekas and inspiration. So it's just this war machine, and a very, very well-rounded domination civ. Keeping up in science is quite key, especially, you know, when we're talking about getting outclassed by a whole era of units. You know, if a civilization doesn't snowball hard enough, and you're versus high-level AI, they're out-eraing you in units, and you're struggling. And he's a really good civ at not falling behind like that. So, okay, we're light civ here, but then we have to ask, if he's so powerful, why is he only ranked 8? He has been power creeped on hard. He's one of the older civs, and he just doesn't keep up with some of the civs higher up on the list. But he is a great, well-rounded domination civ, and I have to iterate, just like Civia, if you're a newer player, you want to get into this type of gameplay, you want to get ready for Civ 7, you want to get skilled up at the domination game, this is your dude. Yeah, try him out. Very, very good. Okay, number 7 on the list, the big boy, Genghis Khan. In history, he was one of the most significant warmongers in the whole world. He changed the face of the planet. I think, what is it? Some ridiculous percentage of his genetics are even still in the current Mongolian population. You know, this man was so prolific in his time. And his abilities definitely reflect that. We was talking about flat combat power being something that I highly value. This man definitely offers that, you know. One of the main things is his game plan is, you know, super simple. You know, you send a trade route to the guy you eventually want to attack. You get the diplomatic visibility bonus, which is doubled for him, and you already have the bonus now because of the his unique building. So you're going in with +9 combat strength and +1 movement cav units, and it's as simple as that. You rip across the land incredibly fast. You're very likely just to completely steamroll over any civilizations you encounter first, get that good early first war, and just go on to dominate the game. He was one of the first civilizations I actually won a domination victory with back when I was new at the game, and I love him. Yeah, he's a great civ. Another very simple civ, but very effective. Yeah, for sure. So we have number 6 on the list, Shaka with the Zulu, another classic civilization. Just like Genghis, I think he's been in a lot of the civilization games in the past. I remember him from Civ 5, and he does much of the same thing here. He has a low-cost pikeman replacement, the famous Impy. It's better at flanking, has faster experience, a lower cost, and it's complemented so well by his leader ability, which I think may be one of the most powerful in the game for domination victories. So his game plan's simple. You build monuments and you rush into the mercenary civics as quick as possible and steamroll into civilizations and get free corps units and then eventually armies with nationalism. Your corps and armies get a flat 5 combat strength, and he's just a beast at pumping out an endless swarm of units from that point in the game onwards, to such an extent that most civilizations around him are just going to completely crumble. He'd be higher on the list if his bonuses came earlier. The Impy coming in with pikemen is a little bit later than some of the other civilizations on the list, and he's relatively balanced from that perspective, and I really enjoy playing Shaka and building up to that stage. If you can negotiate the early game and get to the Impy, you know, you're going to have highly promoted units turning into corps for free, and that's just insane. You know, normally you'd have to produce another unit, combine them, not to waste the promotions, and you're just getting a free corps and then a free army, and as you snowball like that's the thing about him. When a lot of civilizations start snowballing, they often reach a point in the game where it slows down a little bit, and to be honest, that's the most boring part of the game, really, especially if you're playing just a pure domination victory. You sort of get to the point where the game's already kind of won, and you just have to do the job. This is something they're fixing in Civilization, understand, with the New Ages concept, and I might get into that in another video. But Shaka doesn't suffer with that, you know, going from corps to armies, and every unit just becomes so powerful. It's a crazy bonus to have, and I think a lot of people sleep on it. He could even be higher on the list, but I think 6 is fair. Yeah, very strong civ, and I enjoy him. Okay, on to number 5 with Simon Bolivar. Well, when I first saw this civ released, he was the moment I realised the new batch of leader and civs were going to be largely outclassing everything from before. He gets a ludicrous 1 movement, all of his units, all game long, from the very start of the game, including civilian units. If we're talking about flat power for any win condition, but particularly the domination win condition, like that epitomises it. When I read that ability, I knew all of the abilities going forward were going to be at a different level than they had been on the game's release. He also, on top of that, gets a unique general unit, the Commandant General, and that stacks with a standard Great General for a whopping 10 combat bonus aura. That is insane. He has a unique unit which comes out quite late, but does synergize well, and a pretty good builder ability as well. But we're just talking about the raw power of those abilities before. One thing I'd say, like for me personally, I actually find him quite boring. Of all the civilizations of the list, you know, however simple or complicated they are, his power is just so upfront and basic. It makes him consistent and strong, but also uninteresting to me. You know, I'm hoping the design choices they make in Civilization 7 going to be a little bit more interesting than this kind of thing, for sure. Now, on to number 4 with Gorgo of Greece. And she's another example of a simple but powerful civ, and one that I personally enjoy a lot. She got buffed at some stage. Now she has really great flat power potential. 1 combat strength for each military policy card equipped, and an extra wild card in every government. You know, this means she's got big combat strength advantage early on. Early culture, this isn't something I've mentioned, but I mean almost early anything, but early culture is very powerful, and she's getting 50% of the combat strength of defeated units. So getting a little hoplite army going, getting the barbarians down and getting early culture and getting through that culture tree early is an enormous advantage, you know. And the hoplite unit itself is amazing. She can go straight into war with that so early, because it comes out even sooner than the swordsman, you know. Couple of hoplites, a couple of archers, go straight to war. It's amazing. But the thing I actually think about Gorgo that I actually like is actually completely unrelated to her win condition, because she is Greece. She gets access to the Acropolis district, and the Acropolis district is a really, really nice district to have. It gives her a sort of backup win condition. She can build one in every city very quickly, and it gets a nice culture bonus much more easily than anyone, well, pretty much any other civ when it comes to the Theatre Square district. So it's a nice bonus to have even if you're playing the Domination game. But having all of this flat combat strength on top of it, and all of these advantages coming so early, an extra wildcard policy just straight up, you know, it's very, very, very strong, and simple and fun, yeah. And I personally think she deserves a spot at number 4. Some people might say, you know, Simon Bolivar is a bit more powerful than her, but I'm going to say 4. I prefer her. Maybe it's because I enjoy her more, but it's my list and I can be biased if I want to, and I think Simon Bolivar is bloody boring, so that's it. Okay, we're into the top 3 officially. The biggest of all of the big boys. Top 3. One of them isn't a boy, actually, so there's that. But Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar of Rome. First of all, I'm going to state, like I will with one of the other civilizations on the list, I also find his other alternate leader, Trajan, similar in power but slightly weaker. I won't include him twice on the list. I don't want 2 Romes on the list. So I've chosen Julius Caesar to represent him, you know, Rome on my list. And he has outstanding early game bonuses. He gains enormous amounts of gold for capturing cities and barbarian outposts, and combat strength bonuses versus barbs to help him do it. He's got a good early swordsman unit and an excellent unique district. His trade routes provide extra gold by travelling through your empire, and an excellent and quick road network for doing so. So we've got a strong economic infrastructure early via his trade routes and the barb camps. Gets out an early army, you know. I personally like to capture as many barb camps as I can, start purchasing warriors, which frees up your capital or your second city to build settlers if you want to, and then go to war with my neighbour. Now we have to look at these numbers and really consider this, because at the start of the game he's getting 300 gold and then 500 gold at metal casting and 700 gold at steel for capturing a city or a barb camp. So let's say it's early in the game, we're getting 300 gold for a barb camp. So we take out 3 barb camps before we've actually done a war. So we've got 900 gold. We can invest that into a warrior army, produce a couple of warriors, and it's quite reasonable to assume early on we can have a nice army, 6 to 8 warriors, and a couple of slingers or archers. Yeah, not too difficult for a civ getting this amount of money this early. Go straight to a weaker civ that you deem a good early target. Let's say we're playing on deity or even immortal, and they've got 5 cities up early. You know, they've got all those early advantages. Go for 2 small cities, easy 600 gold. Buy 3 warriors straight up with gold from those cities, and go straight in and steamroll the rest of them and get another 900 gold for the other 3 cities. Upgrade your warriors to legion and just rampage, you know. And it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. If you ever try them out with Barbarian Clans mode, yeah, which I really actually enjoy, but this I did it with this civ once, and it was probably one of the most fun games I've ever had. But if you're playing in Barbarian Clans mode, this guy shoots straight up to number 1. You know, he's the best civ in the game. You can just literally just sit on a barb camp and tribute them for gold, and you get the full gold bonus, and you basically just get this massive amount of gold per turn super early if you calculate it. It's like having 80 gold per turn or something ridiculous like that. I did the maths once, I can't remember off the top of my head now. But obviously the thing about Julius that makes him so powerful is tied very closely to a fundamental aspect of the game I consider extremely powerful about the gold resource, or even faith for that matter. It's instant. It's in your exact city when you want it, and it's taking burden from your cities of having to use production for things like settlers early on. Early gold is one of the most powerful things in the game, and Rome has access to it more than any other civ. So for that reason, it has to be in my personal top 3. Okay, on to number 2. And again, I'm going to preface it by saying, of course, I love England. You know, I'm English. I love playing England in all of the civs. I love them in Civ 5. They're very powerful in Civ 5. So maybe I'm a bit biased. And I would actually say, in fairness, if I was to able to include another type of England, I'd probably include Elizabeth as well. I actually find her more fun. I prefer her. She's probably my favourite personal civ in the game, Elizabeth. However, I do think Victoria is genuinely much, much stronger. First of all, as we spoke about, with how much I value gold, England gets a unique harbour district. It builds it faster than normal, and will build one in every city if I can. That alone for me is just wonderful. You're going to always have such a strong economic game with England. And I love the flexibility and immediacy of gold for any win condition really, but perhaps arguably for domination more. Now, it is fair to say Victoria's bonuses can easily land her on a scientific victory tier list as well, and she may do in the future. 10% production on cities with an industrial zone for every building, and a flat 2 production on all strategic resources. The latter of that leader's bonuses is so impactful early on, it's hard to be understated. You can have a 5 production tile for a city to work super early in the game, and it's just insane for everything from settler production to building an early army, or, you know, whatever you want to do. And then, on top of that, you have the industrial zone bonuses that comes later on for more flat production. I love gold, but flat production is a close second, and England has both in abundance with Victoria. I would argue personally that her leader bonus alone is more powerful than entire civs on release. That's how far the power creep went with some of these new leaders, and I love it. She's a joy to play as. Her unit is just okay, and she stockpiles strategic resources in her harbour and gains more coal and iron just by being Victoria. She also produces her industrial zones 20% faster. I mean, honestly, just look at these paragraphs of bonuses. It's insane. I like to trade off all my excess resources when I can for a good price. and just be this enormous production and gold powerhouse. She has so much raw power throughout the whole game, in all ways I consider strong. She could honestly be the best civ in the game if the top civ was just ever so slightly weaker. It's definitely a close one, and one of my favourite civs. Favourite nation, but I do prefer Elizabeth just a little bit more. And so, Basil II is my number one civ. And it might not come as a surprise. I'm sure he ranks highly on a lot of people's lists. But he's the most powerful civ for a domination victory. He gets bonuses to getting a religion early. He gets the crusade ability. He times his hippodromes to be built the turn he gets access to the Tagma, and he just wins. That's it. He just wins. He just converts a city before he attacks. He gets the massive strength bonuses from the crusade ability, and he just does full damage to a city through walls, just walks straight through any civilization, and it's just completely broken. The thing about walls is that it's the one thing that really balances snowballing on higher difficulties. The AI usually get them up quite early and tend to prioritise them. For any civ on this list, that can be a problem that can be overcome, but he's going to slow down your snowball. And no one deals with walls as effectively as Basil. You know, strategy just comes together so easily and consistently and powerfully, it's ridiculous. And he wins the game quickly and easily. I'm surprised he never received any significant adjustments. He's a ton of fun to play, but he's quite unbalanced. I personally love religious and war civs, and I find that combination very interesting. I highly value getting a religion and having access to that and all the bonuses that come with religion, and you get an army basically for free later on. You know, it's very, 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 very powerful. The way his strategy comes together is incredibly cohesive. You know, that's what makes him powerful. As I said, everything he does is so focused on doing what he wants to do. Yeah, so it'd have to be my personal number one. However, I did lie. There is one civ I consider more powerful than all of these civs, and that civ is Babylon. And I didn't want to even include him on my list because he's so powerful and broken, even more than Basil. I just don't even want him on the list. You know, he can produce units 2 eras ahead via his bonus because he gets Eureka's 100% of the science needed for the technology. He takes a hit, 50% science per turn, minus 50% science per turn. But it just doesn't matter. You know, you can have crossbowmen before your enemies have horsemen. If we're talking about flat power bonuses, it being one of the biggest factors we consider to how good a domination civ is, you know, being literally 2 eras ahead of your opponent is like the highest level bonuses you can really get, you know. So he's completely busted, and it's literally probably the most powerful ability in the game. It completely warps his whole civilization is warped by that ability. It completely changes the way you play the game, which is interesting. You know, it's an interesting concept, and that's what he feels like. He feels like a civ that came later on in the game. Here's an interesting but crazy concept. Maybe they wouldn't have released the game with him. Maybe they'd already had him in mind, but didn't want to release such a crazy civ. And he's in a world of his own, you know, in power. So there's that. So that concludes my top 10 domination civs list. Thank you for watching. You know, this concludes, you know, my first video. Give me your thoughts. Do you agree with some of the things I've said? You know, could I have placed some civs differently? Were there civs you think I missed? Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe and like. I'm a new channel. I'm looking forward to getting into more content before the release of Civ 7, and hopefully getting really involved with Civ 7 right off the bat. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you later.